So there's been kind of a worrying amount of plane crashes and injuries and deaths happening in the aviation industry. A lot of things that are still under investigation, but for whatever reason, a lot of people are not really tuned in onto like why is this happening or what's going on about it. And for me personally, since I work in the ramp area for an airport, it is actually kind of worrying to me, like how many people have been getting smoked, to be honest with you, from these accidents. I mean, we got people being taken out from Washington, from Chicago, Philadelphia. I mean, it's really happening everywhere around the United States at the moment. And just now, recently, there was a plane crash in Alaska. I know that a few experts have put a few videos out describing a bunch of these things that happened, and they all been saying that, the aviation industry and flying is still pretty much one of the safest ways to travel. Still better than driving on a car or boat or anything like that. But honestly, I mean, from what's been happening for the past 2 months, it's starting to look like that's not the case at all. I mean, if you take a look at the one at Reagan Washington National Airport, the one where they crashed into the Black Hawk helicopter, I mean, the reason for that crash was because there was a little bit of miscommunication, right? The Black Hawk was a military helicopter that was doing one of its training runs and basically just flying around, right, and trying to navigate around the city. And they follow visual procedures for trying to see if there's any aircraft like coming around, right? So they got notified from tower air traffic control saying like, hey, we got a plane coming in, about to land. Are you able to see it visually? And they thought that they saw that plane trying to arrive, but they actually saw another plane that was actually departing around the same time. And so they thought that was the plane they were talking about. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and they crashed into the CRJ soon after. Stuff like that is just actually kind of worrying, because how are air traffic control people and the military procedures corresponding with regular standard commercial airlines? Like, how is that supposed to work together in order for these things not to happen again? One's doing literally just looking out their window to make sure that they're not crashing at anything, and another one is just using a radar to figure out how to navigate into the airport. Now, granted, this stuff was happening at night, right? So the Black Hawk helicopter still has some limited visibility in order to see visually the planes. The thing is, there's colored markings at the wingtips to show what direction these aircraft are moving in and out from, right? So if one's going north, one's going south, you look at the wingtips, the color coordination for them is going to be swapped. So just to give you an example, right? Airbuses, that's one of the type of aircraft that I usually work on. I believe that on airplane left, it's going to be flashing green, and then on airplane right, that's going to be flashing red. And so if it's coming towards you, you would see the color coordination being from visually seeing it. On the left side, it's going to be flashing red. On the right side, green if it's coming towards you. If it's going out, then it's going to be flashing green on the left side, red on the right. Now, I'm not an expert in any means, right? I'm literally like bottom of the totem pole, just train people to load bags into planes, right? That's just me. But if I'm using common sense, or if I was trained to understand in the military, if I was taught
about that color coordination with the wingtips, and I understand, like, wait a minute, that's coming towards me. There's got to be another plane that's coming around the other side to see for planes arriving. Then that should start turning some gears, right? Then that should be like a warning flag, like, wait a minute, this ain't our plane. I'm not saying this is the reason. This is just all speculation. But if I'm going to assume that there was miscommunication between the Black Hawk helicopter and air traffic control on visually seeing which aircrafts to look for and getting that wrong, then more unlikely that was probably what they saw. Or it was misspoken or misheard that, hey, this plane that you're trying to look for is departing. That could be another reason. Maybe they didn't say anything about their craft arriving. Now for the case for the medevac airplane that crashed in Philadelphia, from a lot of people that I talked to, it seemed to be like a stall when it was taken off. The engines just cut off and then just rapidly descended down towards the ground. I mean, that could be a possibility. I mean, from where I work at, it isn't too common for plane engines to need power or need air to turn on for their engines, right? I mean, we do a thing called an air start where we actually have a portable like air unit that actually pushes air into the plane itself to get those engines running, right? Doesn't happen all the time. It's probably like one in every, I would say, like 20-30 planes that come in throughout the week. And it does increase during the winter time, because during the winter you have all that like cold air and snow blocking the rotors inside the engine, right? It just happens. So use an air start to push air into the engine. Pilots run it. It's able to get into speed to be able to move outside the airport. And then once they start taking off, that's when they are able to fully send it. The caveat, or the little thing about this though, is most of these engine failures are caught while the plane is still touched down on the ground, right? So that's when they have to call tower and be like, hey, we can't move outside this airport, not enough power going to this engine, it's not going to be able to take off. That's when you have to tow it over or bring it back over to the gate to have maintenance take a look at it, hopefully get it fixed, and then hopefully have it pushed out the next day, right? Or even, if possible, a few hours later. Again, a lot of speculation here, but maybe the pilots inside that medevac jet, maybe they thought their engines were good, maybe they thought that they had enough power going into them to be able to take off. Next thing you know it, engine stall, plummet to the ground. That's just what I'm assuming that's what happened. Still have to wait for that investigation to fully be developed, but that's, from my logic, that's what probably happened, right? Lastly, I just want to bring up real quick the incident in Chicago, in O'Hare, where a American airline CRJ ran over a 64-year-old man, United Airlines worker, when he was trying to cross and he got hit by the wing. It's something that honestly puts a little fear into my heart, because this is somebody that works in my line of work. And honestly, this is just like the Black Hawk airplane incident, where somebody wasn't paying attention, they didn't see visually the plane coming towards them, and that resulted in death. Unlike the Black Hawk incident, this is more simplistic, because with a person on a tug driving between terminals, it really is just you visually looking left and right. I mean, it's a no-brainer. You have to look for the plane. The plane has the right of way. Plane goes first, then you move after. But unfortunately, it just takes one person to not pay attention, to not see a plane coming on either side, and that's when you have tragedies like this. I'll tell you right now, it is actually pretty easy to not hear. Seeing is one thing, but hearing the plane coming is a whole different other thing. I'll tell you right now, when I was a team lead and I was driving a pushback, it's a vehicle that uses a tow bar to push out the plane onto the runway. I was driving a pushback between Terminal 5 and Terminal 3 at O'Hare, and I was with my crew. We were pushing out a plane from this place called the Hard Stand. It's where overnight flights kind of remain, and you have to push it out so that way it gets over to your gate, right? We just pushed a plane out of the Hard Stand. We were going back over to Terminal 3, and when we were crossing, I checked on my left. There was no planes coming around. I was driving forward. I got a notification on my phone saying like, hey, plane's coming over to this gate due to a gate change. And I'll tell you right now, me and the crew just got done with 3 flights before this. So we were kind of tired. Heavy day. Everything was over like 100, 120 bags each flight going in and out. And when we were just about to reach the other terminal, that's when a American Airlines jet was coming over to us. And so I slammed on the brake. Surprisingly, that aircraft was actually able to slam on their brakes. And usually you don't see that too often with the airplane itself when it's crossing, because they usually are told to just keep moving, right? More than likely, this was a plane that was just now coming off from a gate and was just now starting to get over to the taxiway. And luckily, it was able to stop, because if we both didn't slam on our brakes, more than likely, me and that crew would have been injured severely. And so it is really saddening to hear that the 64-year-old man did pass away from this, because I really do empathize. I would have been another statistic going into this. But at the end of the day, this is a case of somebody not paying attention and ending up paying the price for it. There was actually another incident in Charlotte, I believe, where a tug ran over somebody. Again, not paying attention, and that cost somebody their life. And so I want to just make this video to just kind of describe how easy it is for accidents to happen at an airport. It may be one of the most highly regulated places that you can actually go to, because they do take safety very seriously. I mean, if you're not, for example, if you're not wearing your seatbelt when you're driving around, okay, you're getting suspended and fired. But human error is a huge contributing factor, okay? A huge contributing factor to a lot of safety issues at my line of work. And people gotta recognize that people aren't perfect. People can make mistakes. Is way too common, especially nowadays, way too common for people to be relaxed or chill going into these areas. And one fuck up can either mean a lot of damage. We're talking about millions and millions of dollars towards these planes, or can lead to, well, death. But I just wanted to make this video so people can be aware of the incidents that have happened so far. But yeah, I hope people stay safe. I hope that these things don't continue to happen. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.